What's believed to be one of the oldest existing taverns in Ohio lies in Yellow Springs, Ye Old Trail Tavern. Built as a log cabin in 1844, it would soon change into a bakery and become Yellow Springs' first business. As the legend goes, supposedly the wife of the man who ran the bakery was having an affair with the postman whose office was across the street. One night, one of these men was found dead right outside the tavern, apparently with an ice pick in his eye. Since then, a couple of ghosts have been seen, primarily a woman in blue who carries herself with the utmost of confidence.
I had an experience once when I was waiting on tables. A woman was sitting at the table at the base of the stairs, and she just kind of looked up the stairs and asked me, who is that standing there at the top of the steps? And I looked up at the steps and I didn't see anyone, and I looked back at her and I was like, pardon me? And she's like, oh, she just left. And I said, well, there are rumors of ghosts being in the tavern, especially at the top of the stairs. And she was like, yeah, that was probably one of them. You know, she was wearing a blue dress and just looking at me. She seemed startled and turned around really quickly and took off. So that was one of my first experiences, hearing about the ghost. But we always hear about, other employees who have been messed with. I guess it's not so much complete physical, paranormal activities.
I've had things fall off of shelves at my head, extremely creepy feelings upstairs in the office running the reports at the end of the night. Every once in a while, in October, we had some special dinners that we called ghost hunter dinners, where people went out to the graveyard and then came back and learned about how to photograph orbs and whatnot. And the following Mondays, none of our computers worked whatsoever. Doesn't seem to like electronics in the slightest bit.
We had a couple incidents with people in the kitchen where knives would fly off the wall. Actually, most of everything that happens when somebody starts talking about the ghost or mentioning how they don't believe in the ghost, and then you go upstairs and your hair gets flicked around from side to side and there's obviously nobody behind you. We had a delivery guy who wouldn't come in the back of the restaurant because he had an experience himself. I guess I had heard one time about a manager who was behind the bar and just saw a woman walk past the bar in his peripheral and left it alone for a moment and came back to find her. And she wasn't in the building. There wasn't anybody else in the building.
There was a dishwasher working here when I first started working here that it liked to, every time he'd put pots and pans up on the tall shelf in the kitchen, it liked to knock them down. And it seemed to be him in particular that it knocked them down for. Like if another dishwasher was working, pots would stay on the shelf. The kitchen manager, when I first started working here, came downstairs one day thinking he'd lost like half an hour of time or something and that the restaurant was open and he wasn't ready. He came down kind of in a panic and we're like, okay, why are you, it's half an hour before we open. And he had seen a small child run past the stockroom. And so he thought that there were people in the restaurant and he needed to run downstairs and cook their food order, but nobody had come in. So.
There was an incident one time with a couple of people who worked here. They didn't get along really well. One of the guys went upstairs and came back downstairs kind of upset. He was like, why is Teresa up there not talking to me? I think she's mad at me. What's going on? And she apparently was away on vacation for a week and hadn't been around for a couple days. And he was convinced that she had been up there. So a couple of people went up there with him and they didn't see anybody. We believe that might have had something to do with the woman that is said to walk around this part of the building. And, the woman was just standing there in kind of a corner, and Her head was down. She had dark hair. It was long, and it looked just like this person who worked here named Teresa.
Yeah, so the last thing you do when you're closing the bar is you have to go upstairs and run the end of the day reports on the computer, and that's in the office where much more activity, feelings are generally found, and a lot of times, you know, you're the last one in the restaurant, you're all alone, and I'll be up there waiting for the last couple of pages to print, and I feel like somebody is right behind me and really wants me to leave, and, you know, just can't wait for me to get those last couple of pages, and it's a pretty creepy feeling. When the bathrooms used to be upstairs before we renovated, sometimes we'd have tables where the kids would go upstairs and go to the bathroom, and the women's room is right beside the office door. And sometimes the kids would come back down, you know, with their legs still crossed, and, you know, mommy, mommy, and they'd be like, you know, there's a lady standing in front of the bathroom door and she won't let me in, and, you know, I'm scared, so you've got to come up with me. And usually the parents would go back up and there'd be nothing there anymore, and the kids could go to the bathroom without incident. But
some of the most standard things happen just with electronics that people use around the building. The computers will stop working when you start talking about supernatural activities. We had a reporter come in once, and they were going to go take pictures upstairs with a 35mm camera, and the camera stopped working when they went upstairs. They brought it back down, it started working again. There's said to be a beam of energy that shoots through from the basement to the attic, or the second floor. Actually, it was said to be responsible for a malfunction in our beer fridge, where our beers freeze pretty regularly. And we've actually won awards for having some of the coldest beer in the area, so it's kind of, you know, good relationship, I think. But yeah, other than, you know, malfunctions with cameras and anything like that, it's mostly upstairs that'll occur. And we might not even be able to get in the computers tomorrow just because we're talking about it so much today.